What is up, ladies and gentlemen, man here, welcome back to the channel. I thought we'd make it a little cozy here in front of the little fireplace and recapitulate on the first week of climbing again after such a long break. Man, it was a blast. I took you along for as much as I could, got the camera out as much as I could, right? I tried to document everything. I got my training diary here. Why am I doing this? There were some noteworthy events and I thought that could be interesting for people going through the same process, okay? So, first of all, what I should tell you maybe is that this week, or all of the videos that you've seen now, you know, the past 4 or 5 videos I think that I showed you on the channel, basically from Trieste to Slovenia until now, that was all inside of 1 week. This week was around 3 weeks ago. Yeah, so we're back at home for already 3 weeks. It was also a blast to come back home again, but here obviously it's a lot colder, yeah, a lot more harsh conditions. Definitely not stuff that's good to climb outside. I mean, today morning we had minus 13 degrees outside. Okay, can you believe it? Yeah, it's crazy. Definitely also something new for me personally, but very interesting to deal with this also, you know, in a living situation like that. But I've talked about that a lot on the Patreon. First day was in Napoleonica, close to Trieste. Yeah? 4 to 5 easy routes in the area of 6A to 6C at most, if I would have to guess it. And I think on the hardest one even I failed. Yeah? So I sat down once. And already during this day, although the terrain was very easy, but maybe also even because it was very easy and you were standing a lot of your toe tips, I was noticing this first major issue that I talked about also in terms of the comeback, and that was the toe pain, okay? Freaking toe skin pain. I didn't have the cool shoes that Torsten borrowed me later on in Trinidad, the Scarpa Vapors, yet, so I still had my Scarpa Instinct VS, the performance shoes of mine, and those were definitely too tight in that terrain and also for my feet at that point, because I just redeveloped normal feet again, right? Feet of a normal person with soft skin, nice looking, not super disgustingly calloused up like a freaking shield or something like that, yeah, normal skin. And that hurt, okay, getting back into those shoes, that hurt quite a bit. And the second day in Napoleonica, that was the fall training, so starting with a little bit easier routes again on the fall training. And then I had 2 attempts in a 7A plus called Scudo. I analyzed it on the Patreon, very interesting route, well, very artificial unfortunately, but slightly overhanging, super endurance-y. You get a rest at 2/3 and then you gotta power through the crux, and I always fail. I got to the second, I got to the same height on my own side and on the second go. Because I just simply went into the rest, then I tried to shake it off, I couldn't. I just simply did not have the calories in my forearms left. I couldn't just shake out the pump, and that's basically how I failed on that 7A plus. Yeah, I hope to be back at some point to try that again. Then I had 2 rest days, okay, because the weather went bad in Trieste. We had a little bit of sightseeing in Trieste and then went back home on the same day. And on the next day, I went back down again when it was still raining and still no climbing. So 2 rest days in a row. That allowed the toes and everything to come back a little bit. Finger skin issue wise, I didn't have any problems whatsoever, which is something that I did not expect. I would have expected much more skin issues on the fingers, less skin issues on the toes, yeah, but it was just the other way around. And then we went back to Trinidad after those 2 rest days. Got cleared up, the sky cleared up. At the day of arrival in Trinidad, we checked out the rocks and it was just super wet. Everything was soaking wet and we were thinking, well, how are we gonna climb on there tomorrow? But on the next day, sun went out, clear as can be skies, so a lot of the stuff dried up very quickly and we could try a lot actually. We did Francina Balanci, a 6A flash, then Vrtnica, 6B plus flash, Oskupliena Kura, 6C plus on site. And then I got onto this mishmash 7A where I did an on-site attempt. which actually almost got me to the crux, but then I would have failed it anyway because the crack in the upper section was just completely wet when I checked it out. So I thought, hey, nice route, okay, we're gonna try that tomorrow when it's dry, when it's properly dry. And with the knowledge of checking that route out, on the second day on there, we did that for the warm-up. Yeah, so I warmed it up and finished it to the top right away. And that was really cool, of course. The upper part was basically on site, but as I told you, in that very right sector of Trünikar, the routes are very, not so fine in terms of rock quality, a little bit choice, and the routes in terms of pathfinding, the routes are not that great. There's a lot of options, a lot of tiny little edges and crimps and stuff like that, and you basically can on-site your way through that in over the course of an hour or something, because you can always stand on your toe tips, but you never really have to commit, to a certain solution. And as I've talked about before, I don't really like that. I like much more compact rock with few holes and few options and blank walls in between. Yeah, I like that more, and this is much more how the central sectors of Trünikar are organized in terms of rock, as we will see. Yeah, so yeah, I did that mishmash second go. Then I did Stokalnik, another 7A. By the way, I forgot to write down the grades here. Another 7A to the left on site, and then Dolce Fa Niente, another 7A to the left on site. The most beautiful of the three, in my opinion, Dolce Fa Niente, because it has much more of that character, right? Just less options, more blank rock, more compact stuff. Yeah. This was the day, the second day, okay, where the toe pain was at its peak. After that day, I had the feeling, okay, already during that day, I was asking Torsten whether I could borrow his Scarpa Vapors, because they were just simply a lot more friendly feeling, although they were not exactly my size, I would say, a little bit above my size. But still, I was very much willing to sacrifice that bit of performance, having a too tall shoe, just for the convenience of not having that pain all the time. Yeah, so I got into Torsten's shoes, and that allowed me to do these two more on-sites on the second day, the Stokalnik 7A and the Dolce Fa Niente 7A. And yeah, that was definitely the peak in terms of toe pain, and I had the impression that this second day in Trünikar with the 3 7As, that did something to my body. It kind of kick-started that regenerative process that we know, in terms of skin regeneration, in terms of forearm regeneration. I remember in the morning of the third day, yeah, so third day on, no rest days in Trünikar, yeah. In the morning, I was standing in the bathroom of our apartment, I was looking in the mirror, and I was feeling like, you know what? That feels good again. Yeah, the arms, the whole of my arms, my lats, my shoulders, it all felt a little tighter all of a sudden. Yeah, it felt a little more filled up again. And I think that was because with those, it was 4 climbing days in total, 2 in Trieste and 2 in Trünikar thus far. But I somehow stimulated again this greater utilization or greater building up of glycogen in those muscles again. I can't explain it in any other way. Yeah, we had a very nice dinner also as well in Trünikar and everything, so we cooked our own food and stuff like that throughout the whole trip. That was great. Lots of carbs, we filled up those glycogen stores, and I could feel it in that morning. Damn, my forearms are, they're a little thicker, they're a little more filled up again. And on the rock of that day, I just totally felt that effect. Yeah, that was the first day where I just really felt for the first time, wow, the flow is back. Yeah, it feels like a lot more flow again. We went into the more central sectors of Trünikar, the more old school sectors. We did 8 goes even, because on the Mandarina 7B, that was the day of the Mandarina 7B, I actually took 3 attempts. Yeah. So that's that. Yeah, Cow and Chicken 5C, Dexter's Lab 6A, Teddy Bear 6C, Beta Gurtner 5C, everything on site. Then came the Mandarina 7B, that took me 3 tries, and luckily I got that done. That was a very, very nice success event. I would say that is the most significant success event of this whole comeback for me, looking back at it now. because it was very tough, I think. Also in terms of, you know, modern grading, in terms of for the grade, it was bouldery, it was old school, vertical terrain, super small holds, very tricky stepping, and I could get that done, although I was climbing in, you know, arguably too tall shoes for my foot size, yeah, in Torsten Skaba Vapors, but I could get it done. Yeah, I climbed it very cleanly, I think, in terms of ethics and stuff like that. If you've seen the video, then you know why I'm saying that. And then I have finished off the day with Levicharka 5A, another on-site, yeah. So very good day in terms of mileage, a lot of mileage in very beautiful terrain in the more central sectors of Chilnikar. And looking back at the comeback, this was definitely the most memorable day. Very nice climbing. And as I said, I could feel that, and this was the proof, right? Eight goes possible on the third day on. Not because I had made a rest day before, but just simply because I stimulated my body again. I re-stimulated my body to store up those glycogen stores again in my forearms, in my upper arms, in my shoulders, and everywhere. So I could make these many goes. Also, the toe issue was kinda cured. Yeah, I had calloused up a little bit again, so I could climb without pain in my toes. It was a great day. Yeah, so that's where I would say I was over the hill. I was getting that feeling of flow back. Yeah, when we counted on the 5th day of climbing. So starting from 0, 5th day of climbing outdoors. And then we had another day in Trinikar on top of that, again without a rest day in between, where we did Dreamcatcher 6B plus on site, Condor 6C plus on site, and then I made one flash attempt on Almira. Well, no, it was one on-site attempt on Almira 7A plus, but I couldn't do it. Yeah, it was a very tricky route. I hope to get back on that again as well, because very beautiful but very tricky route, and also kind of filmogenic. I think you could film that nicely from above, so would be cool to get back on that. And after these 3 attempts, I thought, you know what, I call that a trip. We had 4 climbing days in a row now. I'm quite sore. Let's finish it up like that. Yeah. So that's how the comeback went. It was 6 climbing days here, as you can see, inside of basically 1 week. Cramped together, with by far the best and most memorable day, the day before the last day. And yeah, in terms of these 2 things, I think were quite significant. When I could get over the toe pain, and when my body started to, you know, build up glycogen in the relevant tissues again, and the relevant muscles. One of the most frequent questions I got asked during this whole comeback process was, hey man, did you already get back on the hangboard? Do you use the hangboard at the crag again, you know, to warm up the fingers and stuff like that? And to that I have to say, no, not at all. I made 0 hangboarding. I made 0 like complementing training whatsoever. No stretching, no yoga, no whatsoever. I did my mobilizing routines always before we started climbing at the crag, but other than that, it was just only crag climbing. Yeah, only rock climbing, pure natural rock climbing, I want to say. Yeah, I did a little bit of stretching simply because it's part of my mobilizing routine, and I think that helped a lot. It also made me realize that unfortunately this longer climbing break cost me a lot of flexibility in my legs and hips, and I will have to work hard to get that back again. But will I do a lot in terms of, you know, apart from just natural rock climbing, especially in the beginning of this comeback now? I think not at all. And that already brings me to future perspectives. Again, one of the most frequent questions: when will you start hangboarding again? How will you start hangboarding again? How will you start training again? And what's your goals there and stuff like that? Yeah. So to be completely honest with you, I still have not yet started any training outside of pure natural rock climbing. To be also completely honest with you, I didn't even do any climbing at all since that comeback week. Yeah, so I'm already like 2-3 weeks resting again, waiting for good conditions. But as you know, here it's just super cold. It's super hard conditions here in Austria. It could get better very soon. Yeah, it could get warmer. And hopefully we get some climbing in then. Maybe we also head down into the Copa area again, yeah, because we really liked it there. But in terms of training, here in this area where we're living right now, I don't even have any training facilities set up right now. Yeah? So I would still have to mount the hangboard somewhere. I would still have to mount the 45er somewhere. I have the 45er ready, and I hope that it can get mounted rather sooner than later, actually, because it's just such an effective training tool, man. But to be honest, I don't even see myself training as long as I hit a certain point where I get into a project again that I have the feeling I would need the training for. Okay, so I am curious to see when that's gonna be the case. When will I hit something? When will I hit something again? And also, what grade will this be that forces me to actually train outside of natural rock climbing? This is how this comeback went so far. I wanted to give you a more overarching perspective from me on that here. Also, you know, a bit of a future perspective now in terms of training. I don't want to overdo it. As you know, if you've seen the 7B video, I was quite, you know, that left crimp on the 7B, that pushed it a little bit too far, I think, in terms of stress on my joints, on my tendons and everything. So I want to keep it easy. I don't think it's the smartest thing to do anyway, yeah, if you're not adapted to training and you're just throwing yourself on the hangboard again with bonus weight maybe even, or on the 45er, which is just both super intense stimuli on your joints, on your knuckles, on your tendons and stuff like that in the fingers. We're gonna get back into that all by itself naturally. Yeah, so I hope you got something from this. I just simply wanted to ask the questions as well with the hangboarding and training and stuff like that. I hope you're somewhere out there strong and healthy, my friends. Stay strong and healthy, hopefully. And I will surely see you soon.